Welcome back to another episode of Life After the Show. Now, as always, we're talking Yankees and what they are doing and what they aren't doing. Okay. Seems to me that a lot of the fans are on the same page as to what are they actually thinking about. And then the Yankees, they're kind of just sitting there with their cards real close to their chest with a poker face on and just not letting anybody know what they're going to do. But the overwhelming sentiment that I'm starting to believe is that the Yankees don't have a plan. Okay. The Yankees' plan, if they do have one, seems to be that they're going to copy and paste that 2025 team back into 2026 because I think that they believe that that team is really good. Okay. That team is good, but that team was flawed. And if you decide that your biggest plan is to copy and paste the same team that you had the season before into the season that we're about to have coming up, and it doesn't have Cody Bellinger on it, I'm wondering what the hell they're doing. Okay. That should have been priority one. Obviously, we know premier free agent. It's going to take some time. The lay of the land is not going to be so clear as to where he's going to go. He's going to have other suitors. We're going to see that other teams are going to be doing their best to try to pry him from you. But what they should be doing is their best guarding that goal, not letting anybody score on it. If they get a feel that another team is trying to offer Cody this, they need to up it. Whether that's by a few million, whether that's one more year, I don't know. They'll figure that out on their own. But you got to be doing your best to preserve the best player that you have on your team from last year that went to free agency. So again, if we're going to copy and paste that same team, Cody's got to be the one that you paste in that lineup. I'm seeing that they're making minor major league transactions that don't move the needle fully. And then they're going to try to do this whole thing about how, I'm starting to feel like there's some steam around this Spencer Jones maybe playing left field, or maybe Spencer Jones being better than what we think that he can be, right? Because they do this thing where they start to manipulate the press, and then the press manipulates us, and the press might be thinking that they're getting real information, but what the Yankees are doing is, it seems to me like they're planting a plan B out there. Okay, that if they don't get Cody Bellinger to play left field, they're starting to put some steam around Spencer Jones being this untapped into potential player that might be able to go and run in 2026 and steal the left field job. But if you think about it, you zoom out a little bit, that's what they did with Jason Dominguez, because they told us that he was the next best prospect, that he was the next Babe Ruth, basically, that his talent is out of this world. And then they give him a decent sized look in the regular season last year, and then they rip the rug right out from under him whenever the playoffs roll around. So that to me goes to show exactly how they felt about him when the games were the most important. So if next season Cody Bellinger is not in that lineup, and then Jason Dominguez is fed some of the most important games that start at the beginning of the season, because as I've said, the beginning of the season next year is going to be really important for that team. If they're not going to be fully healthy, those games are very important, because we know that they lost the division with a tie to the Blue Jays. Okay. So it goes to show that every single game actually matters. It's actually insane how that works out. You all get 162, you have the same record. It comes down to head to head. And if you're going to have the same record, those head to head games against your AL East opponents matter significantly. We'll get into that, because I'm going to talk about that a little bit. But if I'm sitting here and I'm starting to see some steam around how Spencer Jones might be the next big thing, I want to go even further with it, because Spencer Jones is a product of the New York Yankees minor league system. And as we know, as I've said, the Yankees have flaws in that hitting stuff. Okay. If we think that he's fine defensively, that's cool. We'll see what it looks like whenever he gets out in left field, because that's going to be determined. Okay. We'll figure that one out. We'll see what that looks like. Hopefully it's fine. Hopefully they've got a guy out there that can catch those fly balls and make those routine plays look routine, because as we know in the past, there's been a few of us that have struggled to do that. So if the defense is fine, we're good there. But the offense has some question marks. We know that Spencer Jones can hit the ball 500 feet if he connects it right. But we also know that there's some swing and miss. And it's not too far-fetched to think that if he's got a pretty high strikeout rate in the minors, that it's probably going to go up in the majors. And that is where I think it's going to be interesting with a guy like him. That is where I think that you'll see the flaws the most in the Yankees system, and maybe how they scout some guys and the guys that they import into their team. Because if you're bringing just big swing and miss guys into your lineup with no way to help them cut down on the swing and miss, 2026 left fielder is going to be swinging and miss a lot. 2026 left field, if Jason Dominguez is out there and hasn't made any strides in his defense, going to be looking murky defensively. It's not really going to matter what he's doing offensively. See what I'm saying here? You got two players that, one, if we think that he's good offensively, and that's Jason Dominguez, then his defense is what people are going to be talking about. And then the other side is two, where if Spencer Jones might be further along defensively than Jason Dominguez, then his offense is what everyone's going to be talking about. If you can't have them talking about how good you are at both things, they're going to talk about one thing and then it becomes a distraction. And then ultimately it just becomes the overwhelming theme of what that player's season is going to look like until he makes a serious change. And I think that's a problem with the Yankees. I think that they have a problem helping players get out of these uh these overwhelming issues that everyone can see with the naked eye. And if the people that are watching the game on the fans' perspective can see it, then you know damn well that the talent evaluators for all the other teams that they're playing, they can see it and they find ways to exploit it. So if we're going to run with the same team that we had in 2025, and then there was a lot of times where we were watching this team and they made just simple mistakes, or they just went out and got obliterated, or they just went out and played baseball that every single one of us thought was terrible. I mean, you got to feel like teams within the division or teams within baseball are licking their lips at the fact that the Yankees aren't going to maybe make a change. I mean, I feel like there was a time in my life when I felt like super cool to say this, and we all probably learned it at the same time, because what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And the Yankees are kind of the definition of insanity right now. They've been doing the same stuff over and over again and getting a lot of the same results. Okay. We're hitting a lot of homers, we're striking out, we're playing subpar defense, but we're making it to the playoffs and we're not winning the World Series. Because every single year they say the same thing. It's a failed season if we don't win the World Series. So to me, I said it earlier in my podcast is start that's a dangerous thing to say, considering the fact that you haven't won any of them in a long time, and then you won so many of them in the past. The Yankees aren't the Yankees anymore, okay? The Yankees aren't the top dog in Major League Baseball. It used to be that the Yankees were like right here, and then everyone else in Major League Baseball was like somewhere in this, like wherever you want to slot them. And now it feels like they're starting to come down, and then there's other teams that have replaced them in that hierarchy. Because yes, you are the New York Yankees. Every single person in the world knows that brand. But every single person in the world that watches baseball might start to realize that other teams have passed you. And how do you get that back if you're just going to keep rolling with the same philosophy in all the areas that you have? I really don't know. Like, I really don't know how the Yankees can expect to get better and to get over that hump if they haven't made significant changes. Okay. And obviously, every change that they make, we're not going to find out about. We'll find out about it when someone wants to praise some stuff that these players are doing, and then they'll just be like, "Yeah, we were working on that." You saw it with the torpedo bat last year, right? You saw it with how they felt like, they hacked the system because they changed the way that the bat looked and created a bigger sweet spot in the areas that players get jammed more. But that didn't overall change other people's seasons on that team. I feel like it was just a quick hot topic to talk about, and Yankees probably felt like, oh my God, like we got this one dude that created this bat and it's going to change all the mechanical stuff that they have wrong with their players. False. Okay. False. Players obviously had confidence with that thing, and it looks cool. It looks unique. It's something that players clearly like. They're still swinging it, but the overwhelming issue for me is not the bat. It's the thought process that the Yankees have that they implement at such a young age with a lot of these players, that once they get into their system, they hyper focus in these areas, and those areas get very much so exploited in October. And why is it that you think that the Yankees just dominate in the regular season? They'll have stretches where they're not amazing, but they do really well. They break home run records. It feels like they do really good things, but I think that the biggest thing that is the difference between the regular season and the playoffs is that the regular season, the Yankees aren't facing an elite pitcher every single game. Okay. Then the playoffs roll around and they're throwing the elite of the elite against the Yankees lineup. And you kind of get away with that in the regular season because teams are, they're making shifts to their roster. Maybe they don't have guys available, calling a guy up that's making his debut. And the Yankees do what the Yankees should do. Every team usually should do what they should do against guys that don't have a lot of experience. So when the Yankees go out and they have those games where they burst 17 runs onto the scoreboard and everyone's happy and everyone thinks that the Yankees are back, that doesn't fully translate into the playoffs because when the playoffs are here, those rosters are stacked with people that have the ability to shut down elite lineups. And when the Yankees do what they do in the regular season and they get away with a lot of fluff in the department of just exploiting pitchers that they should exploit, then the playoffs roll around and they still have the same approach of trying to launch the ball out of the ballpark or whatever their thought process is, and it gets exploited. That's the biggest difference. That's what I feel like the Yankees need to work on the most is they need to build a roster that translates to September and October and November if they get there because other teams have done that. We're starting to see that other teams seem to have found a method that works for them and it leads to the success of overall, like, just, like, longevity in the season, you know? I mean, I feel like the Yankees should start sprinkling in a little adjustment. Be loud about it. Tell the people what you're doing. Make it be seen that you're changing your DNA a little bit because, we all get caught up in that Bronx Bombers thoughts and the baby bombers and everyone's just hitting nukes and that works for certain types of players, but, we know how Judge goes. We know that Judge is going to do what Judge does because Judge has turned into a legitimate hitter. I mean, the difference between what Aaron looked like in his rookie year and the years that followed is astronomically different. That dude has turned into the best hitter in the game. Okay. The guy has unbelievable power mixed with an unbelievable approach, mixed with an unbelievable ability to just hit the ball. And I feel like he's really one of the only guys that you see in a day-to-day basis where you can actually see that his approach is there. He's looking for pitches in certain spots. He's hunting a pitch. When it's thrown, he doesn't miss it. It's like shades of Barry Bonds all over again, where that dude maybe got one or two pitches a game and he just didn't miss it. And that is something that I would love to see. I would love to see Aaron just give a clinic to his players in the minor league guys. I feel like it would be extremely beneficial for people in that organization that when spring training rolls around, you've got Aaron at the front of the room talking about the approach, because the approach isn't something that he just only has the juice for and no one else can have, like obviously we know the difference in his ability with the power. His power is something that no one else can replicate really. And so, but his approach and his mindset on how he has a professional at bat is something that he could significantly help in the area that the players in the Yankee system need help with. That's what I'll just continue to harp on is, everybody has different abilities. But if we're going to roll the same team out that we had last year, we need to work with those abilities. And the one ability that I think they can get better at is teaching approaches. Don't focus so much on the mechanics over the whole season. The time that you get in the box and you're thinking about mechanics were the times that I was as a hitter, you go up there and you start thinking, I'm going to make a change physically right here. And then that becomes the forefront thought in your mind, and you're not even thinking about hitting the ball. And so when the mechanics start to play in your mind during the at bat, you've already lost. You're kind of screwed right there. So that's when you lean on the approach to just go about the at bat and just trust that every single bit of information that you've put in your mind or every single mechanical thought that you've put in your mind is just going to go into play because you've done it, the flow state. And so I would love to see if we're just going to get the Yankee product that we got last year. I would love to see a slight change. We can't change how hard they all hit the ball. Can't change how fast they're going to run or things like that. But what we can change is the hitting philosophy. I mean, if A-Rod's going to go on air and say that their hitting philosophy is flawed, I mean, there's got to be some validity to it. Other guys are speaking out about it, and And I feel like other teams are seeing it. I think that they've used enough research to find that the Yankees have flaws, that they might be able to get away with it in the regular season. But no one, like, think about how everybody was talking trash about how Aaron Judge doesn't have any postseason moments, right? They throw everything out that he did in the regular season, and all they focus on is what happens in the playoffs. So if what we're going to focus on is the playoffs, like, throw the regular season out and let's think about a way that can translate from the playoffs or the regular season to the playoffs. That's it. Like, you have to come up with a bulletproof plan for every area of your team to make it translate in the playoffs. And that is an area that I feel like the Yankees fall short in. That's an area that I feel like they could do better in. They have a lot of guys in that system that can significantly help, whether it's scouting department, whether it's players, whether it's former coaches. They've got the resources. It's just a matter of letting those resources roam free. When you're with the Yankees, I feel like they have an immense amount of pride in their way, and obviously they sign these guys because of what they have to offer. But sometimes I feel like maybe they'll go into these interviews and they'll get these interviews flowing in the right way because they might be telling the Yankees what they want to hear. And I feel like what the Yankees want to hear the most is that we've got somebody that we can trust that's going to do it the way that we want to do it. Okay. There's so many ways to cook a meal, but I feel like the Yankees only have their way in mind of how they want it cooked. And that's when you got to evaluate who's the chef, because the chef ain't cooking the best meals all the time. Okay. There's other guys that can come into a restaurant and do the exact same thing that the head chef is doing, maybe even better. So I don't know exactly who's steering that ship because I know Cashman's not the one telling these guys how to hit. I know it's people that he's got. You would assume that it's probably their minor league hitting coordinator mixed with a little bit of their major league hitting coordinator, or hitting coach. And so, we got to focus on that. That's the players that you need to be signing are the ones that can actually truly hit. And if the ones that we're signing are only guys that are going to be the ones from last season, then I hope to God that the change in last season is the approach, the mindset, more fundamental baseball, less home runs. I'd love to see a Yankees team go out there and not mash like 500 home runs. I think that'd be cool. I'd love to see the Yankees go out there and have the highest batting average. Wouldn't that be something? If the Yankees led the league in batting average as a team, because I feel like that's going to translate. The batting average is what's going to lead to the players getting the homers. The maybe not the full batting average, but at least the bat to ball skills. Let's just call it that. The bat to ball skills are what going to lead to homers because everyone's strong enough to hit homers. We've seen it, they've done it, but it's about how you go about it. And I feel like the Yankees can go about it a little bit differently. So if we're going to copy and paste the same team, let's make a change, a slight change at least. Teams aren't going to be doing the exact same things that the Yankees are doing right now. So let's at least try to do something that the other teams are doing if you're going to do everything that you want to do. The upgrading the approach is important. And we got to do it. And I feel like I've harped enough on that. I feel like there's people that might agree with what I have to say. And I hope that you do, because this isn't just about like coming at the Yankees. This is about the evolution of the game. And as pitchers continue to get better, hitters have to make adjustments. You can't just go up there and think that you're going to launch 50 on them every game. That's where becoming a better hitter matters. That's where, as a fan, you're watching, you're just like, why are they swinging and missing so much? And that's what it comes down to. Okay. We can change that. We can make guys better hitters. It's about going about it the right way. So I hope that somewhere in the Yankees war room, they're thinking about how can we make our players better hitters if we're going to roll the same team out there next year. So that's all I got for you guys. If you agree, disagree, as always, like, comment. The comment section ain't for the faint-hearted. Okay. Come in there with a Kevlar vest. Don't be bringing no knives to a gunfight in my comment section, because people will chop you down if you're coming in there with something that they don't believe in. So say what you got to say, agree with what you want to agree with, and voice your opinion, because in my comment section, freedom of speech is welcome. Thank you for watching.